Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Press Pause Podcast. We've been gone for a bit, but we're here today. We're back. We have a special guest, my wife, Mickey Panda. Would you please say hello to the fine people, literally dozens of people that are listening right now?
Hello, dozens of people that are listening right now.
And my boy here, H.U. Fox, as usual. Fox, what have you been up to in the 2-week pseudo hiatus that we've been dealing with?
2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. Traveling, a lot of traveling. Well, for me as an international foreigner, it's a lot of traveling. Down to San Jose for TwitchCon. I was gone for I think a full 7 days.
Oof.
Which is quite a while. I've only ever been gone for like 4 or 5 days in the past, so I really missed my dog. But after that, it's just been work. We've got Fallout 76 coming out here very soon, and I've been working my ass off to put together an event for that, alongside Hunter, of course, Hunter Wild. But it's been a doozy, and it's taken up all of my time.
No, I just got the email this evening, right as we were done with dinner. My phone was going bling bling like every 20 seconds because Outlook is bugged on it. And that was Amazon saying, "Hey, you know, your thing is shipped, right? Like your copy of 76 is shipped." I'm like, "Yeah! Oh man, that's right. That means I'm 2 bills in the hole for that. Damn. I mean, it was bittersweet happiness."
Wait, so did you get the power armor one?
Yes, I will be streaming with that helmet on my head. I will be painting the miniatures and giving them away.
Lucky bastard.
Yeah.
In the time it took me to see the announcement that the Power Armor Edition was available in Canada, from that time to getting onto Amazon to look it up, it was sold out.
I've heard that a lot. Like literally during E3 when they were like, here's Fallout 76. I was at Amazon's website just F5ing on the search results until finally it popped up and I was like, place order. I don't have to pay for this for like a couple of months. I'm good. And then I factored into fundraising.
What makes me like extra angry about that, I've done this with so many things you think I would have learned at this point. I went on to Amazon.com because I have a shipping place in the US that I can get things shipped to. I went on to Amazon.com ages before it was available in Canada, and I added it to my cart. I was like, okay, I'm going to let this sit here for a few days in case it becomes available in Canada like tomorrow. So I let it sit there and I waited, and then it came to Canada and it immediately got sold out in Canada. I was like, okay, I still have my backup. I can go to Amazon.com, just hit checkout. I'm good to go. Went to Amazon.com. This product is no longer available.
Oh, that hurts.
It does hurt.
I've had those feels like, you know what, I'm going to add this to my wish list, and then no. I'm like, I'm ready to buy this now. Nope.
Yeah, that's why it happened to me with For Honor as well, which is like one of my big games that I love so much. That's why I went to ridiculous lengths to get the Apollyon statue that was exclusive to GameStops in the US. They wouldn't ship it to Canada, but man, I wanted that thing before it was no longer available. So I literally called up a GameStop in Seattle. I was like, okay, I have people coming to Seattle on this date at this time. I need you to set one of these things aside for me. They will come pick it up and pay for it. And yeah, it was.
Have you still found the helmets, by the way?
I'm still searching for those helmets.
Oh, we got to get in touch with somebody from Ubisoft.
No luck whatsoever.
Well, anyway, we also did BlizzCon. I know you did not do BlizzCon, but myself and Panda did BlizzCon. And there were certain experiences, getting into the meat of the show right now, that we had at both TwitchCon and BlizzCon. And that seems to be the subject of this episode. We're going to be discussing kind of a few things. There really is no definitive, like, this is what the title is kind of deal. But
it's more or less experiences and expectations at conventions.
Perfectly stated. Well done. And
Perfect.
yeah, and you know, one of the reasons I kind of got like there was like a bug up my ass about this particular subject. Like we were going to talk about Diablo Immortal, and we were going to talk about the shareholders versus community, consumers versus developers. The Activision earnings call, and we were talking about. Oh,
I was going to make a special point to rant about how good I think Mass Effect Andromeda is.
Right. We're going to go into that. We were going to fight. Today was going to be a fight episode,
Yeah,
but
we were going to get into it.
Yeah, but that's
next time.
Yeah, that's next time. This one really, when I started thinking about what the conversations that my wife and I were having personally about, what happened at TwitchCon, what happened at BlizzCon, I started to, and I looked through my social feed, right? I looked through Twitter, I looked through Instagram and whatnot, and it's not something I've ever heard anybody talk about, like from this perspective, from this angle. And it was one of those things where I've thought this way for so long, but I've never said anything because I don't want to commit like any. I don't want to like do any career sins or whatever the hell it is when it comes to this space on Twitch as an influencer, as a broadcaster, or even within the community. I don't want to end up getting lumped in or something. But yeah, I figured let's talk about this one, and we can actually get Panda to be on the podcast, which is something that we've been wanting for a long time.
So before we actually get into the meat of the discussion there, Panda, do you want to kind of introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are and what your history is in this particular space?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So my gamer tag is Mickey Panda. My real name is Misty. I've been playing Blizzard games since 2004. I met Spooner in 2005 playing World of Warcraft together. We were actually in a battleground at the time. I was characteristically healing the crap out of him, and he was a warrior. Nothing has really changed. So fast forward 13 years later, we've got 3 kids now. I work in the tech industry. I've worked in the tech industry for 17 years. Officially, I've been in the space about 22 years, though. Started creating websites when I was 15. And so now I work on the product side. I went from programmer to product, which is actually pretty traditional for women because we get pushed out of the programming role, which we can talk about that if we want to. But I think at this stage in my life, going into product was actually pretty beneficial given that I've worked on both sides of the fence and I can communicate with programmers and engineers, and they're a very interesting breed. So I'm also I'm feminist in nature, so I absolutely support women across the industry between gaming and tech because it's super important to keep women in STEM, and also just bring more girls into the gaming space. Even though we already comprise 45% of the market, our voices aren't heard as often, and so I definitely had a certain set of expectations going to these 2 conventions, and I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think Spoon and I have touched on a number of times the way that females are generally treated in this industry and in this space, and I think it's fantastic to get someone on the show that comes from a position and has an opinion that Spoon and I literally cannot have for biological reasons. I think it's necessary to make those voices heard. And I also want to note that the last, I think it's 2 years or whatever it's been at TwitchCon, the absolute best experiences I have had at those conventions has been sitting down with just you two and having conversations. So I'm super happy to have you guys here.
Well, the feeling is mutual, dude.
Yeah, we look back and we're like, what are we going to do at TwitchCon this year? We're going to talk to Fox. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, after our own personal internal conversations about everything that happened at TwitchCon and BlizzCon, just as a side note, unrelated to the topic at hand, or maybe it will end up being related by the time the conversation is over. We spent kind of a sum of money to do TwitchCon between the flight and the hotel and the tickets itself and the food and etc. And it's like, really, I kind of just want to go hang out with Fox and maybe a couple other friends, but I can do that. It's cheaper to drive up to that part of Canada or down to that part of Portland, and I'm good. Like, I'm good with that. That's it. It costs less to do that, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, so let's dig into it.
Yeah.
I think so. Fox, I just want to. You said something. You said, it's not an opinion that you guys can have. I think it's actually more of an experience that you're not able to have, and I want to talk a little bit about that. When we were at BlizzCon, something happened to me. An experience happened to me, and Spoon had no idea. And then when we talked about it, he couldn't even fathom what happened. And so to set it up, I play Heroes of the Storm. That is my jam. It's what I love to do. And of course, as soon as we get to BlizzCon, I'm over in the Heroes of the Storm area, learning about the game, getting signatures from the devs, trying out Orphea, the new character that's, Nexus born. And so we decide we're going to go ahead and play a match, and we get in line, and we end up, Spoon and I, with 3 additional males. I just want to call it that they're guys. And then we were playing against 5 guys. Now, I don't think that this is strange, right? When you even look at the lines that were set up, there was maybe, 1 female for every dozen males. Pretty normal to see there, but it definitely shifts the dynamic. And of course, I'm there. I know what I'm talking about. I've been playing this game since alpha. I'm asking these guys, what do you want to play? Okay, how are we going to balance ourselves? Okay, great. Spoon and I will go ahead and we'll pick heroes that kind of balance what you guys pick. So go for it. Do what you want to do. So we sit down and we play a really sick game. In the end, I told Spoon, do Ragnaros. He's an assassin. Spoon is really good at that character, and I took up the support role. I played Lily. She's more like a battle healer. And we kicked ass. So we get done with this match. We stand up. And the other 3 guys, I'm like congratulating them because there were some pretty cool plays. And they looked right past me and gave Spoon a high five and shook his hand and told him how amazing he did playing the game. Mind you, I was right next to MVP on the screen, didn't die once, healed the shit out of him, had six clutch heals, I think it was. I played like a badass. Nobody even acknowledged that I was there. Now, I felt it right away. And of course, Spoon is behind me like, yeah, you guys, like whatever. Yeah, that thing you did was really awesome too. Yeah, this was great. And we're all kind of walking out. And then Spoon's like, all right, let's go check out Diablo. So I'm sitting there asking myself, and this is something that women do a lot. I'm asking myself, was it just me? Or did this actually just happen to me? Because I came to BlizzCon, I heard the welcome home speech. I'm talking to the devs. The devs are actually mano y mano. They were like, what do you think about Taronda? What do you think about the changes we did to her? And I'm talking to them, feeling really good. But then this happens, and it reminded me. It was a really, really quick cold water to the face that, you know what? It's not really home for you. Blizzard Games would love for this to be home for you, but the community isn't ready for it yet. And it doesn't matter how good you play, how good you are, how much you know, you're never going to receive the same type of respect. And it's unfortunate. And then I think afterwards, when Spoon finally got it out of me, because I didn't want to ruin his experience at BlizzCon by talking about this, but later on he gets it out of me, and I was like, look, I just don't belong here. And he was like, you're full of shit. He was super angry, right? I know Spoon.
I have some preface, not to kill her momentum, but I do want a editor's note. She got into the alpha before me, so she was an alpha player of Heroes of the Storm. Invited me when they were like giving out codes for friends, and so it's just one of those things where Panda is the Heroes player. I just tag along. That being said, I've been known for putting my foot so far into my mouth that I'm literally shitting shoelaces when it comes to my wife. I say the dumbest things.
So it's not really about, this is true, people. Look, I'm just going to throw it out there. When we first met, he was like, what I love about you. You're built like a linebacker. And I was like, built like linebacker. That is so sexy.
You did not say that.
We were like 2 weeks in. So it's true. He definitely can put his foot in his mouth. But here's the thing, right? He's angry at himself. We're having this conversation, and I can tell that he's angry at himself. He didn't see it. He couldn't defend me. He didn't realize it happened. He was like, I was like, one of these guys that perpetuates the problem just by not recognizing it, because he wants to be an ally. For women, of course he does. So this isn't actually to pick on you at all. This was the best example I think I could have hoped for because it absolutely showed him what is so difficult for me to convey, which is that these things happen and it's so normal and so natural in that space that even he didn't realize it, and he's my number one fan. So imagine how others females deal with it.
Yeah, it was what was most frustrating about the entire thing was you're fed. I'm gonna say it sounds so disingenuous, like, oh, you're fed a line. It's like, no, I believe the developers and the community managers, the employees at Blizzard, the game makers, right? They have a genuine desire to be inclusive. I mean, hell, you look at any of the launcher when they're promoting a broadcaster. One of their most promoted broadcasters is transgendered. They have a lot of female broadcasters that are put up, broadcasters of color. It's just there's a lot of inclusivity on the part of the game maker, and yet I didn't see that translate very well, which was very strange because, at least at BlizzCon in general, I don't get it. Because I'm there shoulder to shoulder waiting in line for 2.5 hours with a 68-year-old woman who's got a mustache, who's been playing World of Warcraft for as long as I have, and who I can have this kind of connection with, and yet, like, that's inclusivity to me, you know? But,
so the Blizzard community itself has a lot of really deep roots now in esports, and
true.
Although there's a lot of really positive steps being made in esports, there's also a lot of really publicly negative and disgusting things that are done in esports. Like a prime example, look at the reactions that people had when Scarlet, Sasha Hostin, I think her name is, won the StarCraft Pro series in Pyeongchang.
Oh,
those reactions were disgusting. I was so happy for her when I saw that, by the way. So we know that, those types of people, let's say, we know those types of people are out there in that esports scene, and with Blizzard being so rooted in it, do you think that plays a big impact on Zoom? What are you doing?
I don't know what Zoom is doing. It was being weird there, and now my kids are running around full tilt. So if there's buffaloes above and there's some bass in the podcast, we apologize. Continuing on.
So do you think that negativity from the esports side of it plays a lot into those community reactions within just the Blizzard community itself, or do you think those two things separate themselves quite well?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought it up, because the esports piece it's just adding fuel to the fire. So you've already got a fire going, and then you're throwing gasoline on it, right? Mm-hmm. So first there's, this idea that women are invading what was meant for them, what was meant for men. Okay. And then you dump esports on it, and now I'm trying to be, it's like, okay, are you asking us to let girls on the football team? Because that's really what's happening now with esports, where it's like, oh, do you want in gaming? Okay, great. Well, I guess you can be here, and we really want you here, but actually we're still going to treat you like shit. And oh, by the way, now you want into our esports too? It's like insult to injury to some of these people. And I think that it's so built in to their response that they don't even recognize that they're doing it. And then Spoon, you talked about Blizzard and their inclusivity. There's a phrase, be the change that you want to see. And so, Blizzard is throwing these things up on the screen because they're saying, look, community, we want to accept these people. But this is a culture shift. This is a dynamic that is very difficult for them to influence directly. It's all indirect influence. And I think the community really has to change in order for this to become a reality. And I think that cultures don't change quickly.
No, I agree. I agree entirely. I'm sorry. Were you going to say something else? Or?
I was just going to say, and esports is just developing its culture, and it's like the chicken sitting on the egg. It's like, this is our thing. We're growing it. It's finally getting recognition. ESPN is in on this. Everyone wants to write deals with us. We're getting scholarships to go to college. Back the fuck off. That's kind of what they're saying. We don't want you to infiltrate this space. This is how I feel. I don't know. There's not any direct comment on this. But when I talk to other women and I go on the forums where we're trying to support each other, these are the things that we see.
Yeah, it's Again, it's one of those things where the purpose of the episode is kind of the purpose that we're having the conversation is because I think this is an experience that needs to be kind of unpacked, and like Fox said earlier, I don't know that experience. It is very alien to me. It is extremely alien to me. More so because I am Latin. I'm Latin American, but I am white for all intents and purposes. So I can't even come at it there's very little relevancy. Like, I can't relate to the situation. And really, that's just, it's the situation. It's very difficult to relate to the situation. So, again, we're not like, going down this what's the word I want to look for? It's not like we're just going to be parroting and echoing and yelling, patriarchy, and just having like one of those kinds of episodes. But there is merit, tremendous amounts of merit, to the reality that you have to kind of acknowledge. You have to understand.
Well, yeah, the point of having these discussions is to, I guess, kind of understand why it's happening and what needs to change in order for things to improve. Kind of back on the note of esports, I'm going to use Scarlet again as an example because StarCraft is kind of mainly the only esports stuff that I follow. I myself played StarCraft professionally way back in the day. That's long before StarCraft 2 came out. Back when like Brood War really hit it big.
Right.
And that's a game that I absolutely adore. I love it to death. I love the experiences that I've had through it to death, and I love the community to death. And so I want to see people like Scarlet doing exactly what she did, winning those big tournaments and stuff, because it pushes the game and the community and the culture into the positive light that it needs to thrive. So when people from that same community start bashing people like that or trying to shut doors on them, it boggles my mind, because I don't understand, how can you claim to love this thing so much and yet you're holding it back by acting this way and treating these people this way?
Right.
I will never understand how these people can think the way they do, but the point of these discussions is, to make an effort to do just that in a way.
Yeah, and I think there's more on the part of companies, businesses. They could do so much more. And so I had a couple examples I wanted to share, but the female that won the StarCraft championship, what's great about her is that she now fills a spot that we can see, and we can say, okay, look, if she can get there, then I can get there. And so it's really important for women to see that. And you said it still perplexes you how they can have this attitude, how so many can share the same attitude, where it's like, I mean, imagine being me, right? I hear the family that plays together stays together. I hear my girlfriend plays video games. I mean, isn't she amazing? So like, they want us there, but they just don't want us to be good.
Oh,
and that's the problem. Just be here, play
just
with
not
us.
Better than me.
But don't be good.
Yeah, it's the mentality of, I want you here, but I want you here supporting me.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that is not the role that I want to play, because I love esports. I love what I watch with Heroes of the Storm. I never got it. I never really got it with baseball or football or soccer or any of these other sports that we celebrate here in the US. Why people would get so crazy in their fandom. And now that I follow Heroes of the Storm, the HGC, I absolutely get it. Your heart gets pumping. You know what it takes to do what they're doing. The skill is there. You respect it. It's amazing, and you want to get behind it. I want to celebrate that too. And when there's someone standing in my way, sometimes it feels like I've been fighting for so long that I just want to give up. I wanted to give up last week, I think, because, or was it last week? The week before? I wanted to give up because I flew into BlizzCon on the heels of TwitchCon. And TwitchCon was a much different experience. TwitchCon was, I was there as a community member, so I'm not a streamer, I'm not an affiliate. Yeah, I'm there supporting Spoon, and I'm treated like one of everyone. I'm absolutely treated like everybody else. There was no difference in how I was treated. There was tons of women everywhere. It was a really accepting, inclusive environment. I did notice that the streamers themselves are very interesting. Some of them get it. they're introducing themselves to people, and they see I have the community badge, and they're saying, "Hey, how is your experience here?" And I'm like, "Wow, that streamer knows what they're doing." We ran into a guy in the elevator. I didn't know who he was, but apparently he's a big streamer, and he didn't know who I was, but he was like, "Hey, how's your experience?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm tired. We've been running around the convention center all day. It's been great." We get off and we find out that it was it Spoon?
It was John Sandman.
Oh,
John
I
Sandman.
love John.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm glad that you segued into TwitchCon, because I think it's like a microcosm of these cultures, because at the end of the day, like I use the word culture warrior now for the most part. I try to use terms. I use the term culture. I don't like to use the term community, because, and we'll get into that in a little bit, the experience that I had and that she had, what I observed at BlizzCon, a gaming centric convention, right, was fundamentally different than the experience we had at TwitchCon, which was a broadcaster kind of like online culture convention, right? And bottom line, when you think of convention, you have to have, there's certain caveats in your thinking, certain things that are kind of like, okay, I understand that the vast majority, maybe not everybody, but the majority of people that you will find at a convention are people that it's more your hardcore fandom, your hardcore, and I say hardcore in that the people who are willing to invest a substantial amount of money or time or just energy into going to these conventions for whatever the reason may be. So you'd have less of your casual base, if you will, so more like the most passionate of your base of what makes up that community, that culture, can be found at these conventions. With BlizzCon, it was very much like, okay, this is gaming as a whole. It's still a very male dominated. It's nobody's out there actively. Even at the convention, I didn't see anybody actively trying to be like, trying to bash on women or the women that were there. It was just very like, it's not passive aggressive. It was yeah, it was kind of exclusionary. Yeah, it was like, I just don't see you.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I don't see you there.
We go to TwitchCon, and like I mentioned, there's women all over the place, and I don't know the exact statistics for females across the TwitchCon or the Twitch platform, versus females that are in the community, following Twitch streamers. But I do know on the Blizzard side of the house, if you look at like Polygon released a 2018 women in gaming statistics, 36% of MMO, high fantasy MMO, are played by females. Why didn't I see 36% of the WoW audience at BlizzCon female? Right? You look at MMOs, I'm sorry, not MMOs, but MOBAs, 10%. It drops a lot when you look at MOBAs. Only 10% of females are playing MOBAs, and then you've got 11% that are playing like your turn-based strategy games. So I didn't expect to see a whole lot at the Heroes area, but I expected to see at least 1 in 10, right? Should be female. So are we scared to go to these conventions? Do we not feel welcome? Do we feel pushed out? Those are the questions that come out in my mind. You have a convention like Twitch that's all welcoming and inclusive. It's actually extremely progressive as a platform. And then you look at Blizzard, which is established. It's been around for a long time. It has a huge audience, tons of games across different genres. And yet I didn't see the women represented at that convention. What are you doing, Blizzard, to bring women to your conventions? I'm just wondering.
So you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have been to multiple BlizzCons at this point, yes?
Spoon has. This was my first experience.
What
I've
was
always
your
had
first
the
experience? Okay.
Yep, always had the virtual ticket, but Spoon has been 3 times now.
Yeah, this
So
was my third time.
then,
Yep.
Spoon, this question is 100% on you. Answer it correctly.
Yeah, no pressure.
Have you noticed a shift in the kind of atmosphere that we've been talking about? Have you noticed a shift in that over the years at BlizzCon, or is it now what it always has been?
If I had to remember, there was a very large gap between the last BlizzCon I went to and the most current one. That being said, I want to say that there has been, but I didn't want to say there's been a large shift.
If you couldn't detect it, chances are.
There are more people willing to cosplay. There are noticeably more people of color, and there are more women, but it's not like a staggering amount. What you know what I saw more? The one thing that did surprise me, and I don't know if this may just be on my end, like a confirmation bias thing. The one shift that I did notice was the amount of people that were my age that had families and either brought their kids with them, or were talking about their kids, or were talking about their, spouses or their mortgages or whatever it was. It seems that the community has kind of grown up a little bit, if that makes any sense. So that was the only shift I noticed, but outside of that, not really.
And that was from 09 to 18. So I want everybody to realize that he went in 2009 and now 2018. You're talking nearly 10 years later, and he couldn't even detect a shift. And that's kind of what's interesting to me.
Yeah, so you did mention at the very least, and it's probably the only positive thing that you've mentioned there, unfortunately, that you noticed more people of color at BlizzCon. Well, I can't help but wonder if that was due to just a shift in the Blizzard community, or a shift in the convention itself, or if it was due to platforms, more progressive platforms like Twitch and Mixer and stuff being more involved in the Blizzard space now than they were, say, in 2009.
I would say outside of even the Blizzard space. I mean, yeah, that I would agree with you. That's a pretty decent assertion. I would say though that just in general, I've noticed this. I mean, sociologists tell you like day in day out, like, hey, listen, our culture is becoming more and more mixed. We are becoming more and more of everything. That's just the way the human animal works, right? It's even built into us specifically to make sure that our genetics are always as varied as possible, for other biological reasons. We're not going to get into that in the podcast. But it's like, yeah, there's a lot more representation now in gaming, in the gaming culture, in online culture in general, for people of color and for women than there ever has been. That's not to say that what is the standard now, or what is going on now is the end. Like, hooray, yeah, we can stop trying now. We can stop pushing for it because we got it. Like, no. It's a far cry from what I feel it should be, or from what it potentially could be as far as inclusivity. But there has been just a general shift. So if it's going back to your original statement, if it's maybe something that broadcasting in general, YouTube, Twitch, Mixer, etc., or even just online video format in general has brought to the table, yeah, that probably paved the way. That had some kind of effect. That had some kind of influence when it came to what I've noticed. Even some of the characters that are being designed, that are being released, some of the heroes, heroines. There's a lot of female lead characters within the fantasy, within these games that we are all playing, within these stories that we're all reading or we're all going on about, even when it comes to D&D, if we're getting really, really analog into that. But there is a lot more variety now. I think it's just it's less that Blizzard said specifically we want to be more inclusive, and more that they said it'd be a better business decision to be more inclusive. It would be more profitable to be more inclusive.
It's kind of been mentioned a couple times throughout this conversation that Blizzard themselves have kind of made steps towards putting the spotlight more on the females and the people of color and such. But as ingrained in the community, the Blizzard community and kind of culture as you guys are, what steps do you think Blizzard needs to take from here in order to open those doors up to the people that are being excluded right now?
Oh, I got one.
What aren't they doing?
I got one. Wait, no, you go first. You go first.
Sorry. Okay. I was like, no, you. I have some great ideas. First, I just want to say that Blizzard has done some pretty awesome stuff. apart from the launcher, they've got, ladies up there that are streaming their games, which I think is really awesome. They also put Gillyweed up on with, the different shoutcasters that are shoutcasting Heroes of the Storm. And she went through some real crap to get where she's at right now. And they continue to elevate her and show that she is someone to be respected. And I think these are just giant leaps that these guys are taking, and they protect her pretty well from the onslaught that she gets online. So props to them. And then I think for some suggestions for what they could do, I think they need to recruit more women. I think they need to make it obvious that they want more women there, whether it's participating in championship games, or training for them, or trying out, or shoutcasting. It's like, how are they recruiting these people? How are they training them? How do they bring them into that space? Twitch made a program, which it's defunct now, but they had a program going where they were teaching people how to create media for Twitch. And that was amazing. It was like this educational opportunity. Maybe it wasn't as profitable as they wanted it to be, or maybe they set it up and then Amazon squashed it. Who knows? I can't figure out what happened with it. But for that, they were oh, do you? Okay, I would love to hear it. But I know that they were specifically recruiting women. The intersectionality piece just really came out hot there. They were like, we want everybody. Gender, non-gender specific, every race, color, religion. I mean, everything you can imagine. I'm sad it went under. So what happened?
Can you share what happened?
Yeah.
Is it like an NDA thing?
I not technically under NDA, but I feel like bad things would happen to me if I shared it.
That's fine.
I'll tell you in private one day, don't worry. So Spoon, you said you had some ideas. Did you want to kind of follow up with that, or
Overwatch? I mean, look, let's be real honest here. The big 800-pound gorilla that World of Warcraft was for Blizzard, and obviously this goes for any kind of gaming company.
I thought you were referring to the monkey from Overwatch. I'm gonna make so many people angry by just saying that, but
no. Okay, all right. Listen.
I believe he was a great ape.
Close enough.
All right, the two of you are killing me. This is why we can't have. Anyways, we can't have nice things. So like, Blizzard used to be kind of like known. Their claim to fame was World of Warcraft, right? 5 billion freaking people playing World of Warcraft. The World of Warcraft was the thing, right?
Much as I hate to admit it, yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm wearing a World of Warcraft Arena Championship, hoodie.
I don't own a StarCraft shirt or anything,
Right.
so I guess you got me.
Anyway, if we're being totally honest, the new hotness, the thing right now that is definitely going to be it's their driving thing, is Overwatch. Blizzard has the Overwatch League. It is they own it. They have final say over what teams exist and how participation is done, and they're the ones that slap down, regulations and citations and so on and so forth. Not to say that we should have, because I don't believe we should have like an affirmative action kind of thing, or like a quota, or let's just have like the token female on this Overwatch team. But like something Panda said, you really gotta really just dig in there for a minute and start doing some real research. How are Overwatch League pro players being chosen? How are these teams drafting players? How are they recruiting? How are they doing this? And we've seen a lot of behavior of these pro players that have been banned on Twitch or kicked off their teams for saying some stupid racist shit, or otherwise. And it's like, so we know that Blizzard is paying attention, and they're really good. I think they're really kind of laser focused on toxicity more so than inclusivity at this point. And I think that it's a missed opportunity. You can do both. I'm a big believer in like the abundance philosophy. Like, you can do both. You make enough money and you have enough interest and there's enough ROI. There's enough ROI for you to have a team that is dedicated to dealing with the toxicity issue when it comes to these kinds of games, specifically games such as Overwatch, esports, competitive gaming, but also inclusivity. And by inclusivity, it doesn't mean, like I said, it doesn't mean going out and specifically cherry picking this person or that person just to, oh look, I got my one. Look at me, I got my black friend, or look at me, I have my female gamer friend, right? Like, not that, but really talking to the recruiters, talking to the coaches, putting out educational things for the players themselves who once they join an organization and saying, hey, just finding a way to make the recruiters at the base level where nobody sees, to open up what they, to open up their vision. Because I've met a lot of damn good Overwatch players who are girls, and they play.
Namely our daughter.
Yeah, our daughter, perfect example. Like, not to toot my own horn, but I didn't teach her anything, really. I'm not tooting any horn, man. I wouldn't let her watch me play half the time because most of the stuff I played was, like, way too violent when she was little. But, yeah, man, she's... The horror stories... Yeah, she's diamond in Overwatch competitive. She plays really, really well the moment that she speaks on voice chat.
The moment.
It's fucking hilarious. It's almost like it's a scripted thing. The moment that anybody finds out that this person that was backpacking like a fucking Jansport is carrying the team, kicking and screaming to victory, is not a dude, they flip their shit. And they flip their shit in, oh man, I didn't know girls could be so good at this game. Holy crap, when I found out we had a girl, I thought we were gonna lose. Or like, wait a minute, you're a girl? It's just, it blows my fucking mind. It's like, hey, you've proven yourself.
You mentioned them, not to cut you off, but
no.
Interjecting here. You mentioned that Blizzard is taking steps to tackle toxicity, specifically in Overwatch. They've been taking some really good steps lately. Do you not think those two things go hand in hand? So by tackling this toxicity, they are making steps and strides towards being more inclusive for the community as a whole?
I think
go
that
ahead.
they're also, I got to give them credit because they had a section at BlizzCon dedicated to their employees that was it was basically recruiting all people. So it was an inclusivity event. They had it going the entire convention. All their employees had to do was stop by and they were like, look, we want to find more women, more people of color, more transgender, gender neutral. They just wanted to bring everybody into the company. I think they realized, though I have to, slap them on the wrist for too little too late. I think they realized that they're developing games for a large audience of females. It's super important to have people in there, whether it's females or people of color. Like, I can't even imagine what it would be like, what it is like for someone who is transgender, Black, and female, right? It's like, holy shit, what they must put up with when I'm in a privileged position of being white and female and I still get stomped. So I think, yeah, it's a trifecta. So I think to your point, they are trying. They're taking it from different angles, and I've got to give them credit for what they're doing. I think it's helping. They're also tackling toxicity in Heroes, from my point of view. So yeah, Spoon.
Yeah, to answer the question, as far as toxicity, do you think that? So the question was, do I think that the measures are taken to deal with toxicity in online competitive gaming, which they're gonna bring over to WoW, fucking finally, thank you, and to Heroes of the Storm, every game that they've got, every franchise that they have that involves with other human beings talking to each other over the internet, right? Yes and no. I don't think it's enough. I think, yeah, sure, if you were to knock down the toxicity, word association, the first thing I think about when you say toxic chat, I think somebody being a racist prick. The second thing I think is being sexist prick. But the first thing I think of is being a racist prick. Unfortunately, that's just between the try-hard emotes on Twitch, whatever the case may be, that's the first thing that pops into my head. I still think that, yeah, they need to toxicity is one thing. You could be really, really, really broad in your spectrum of being a toxic, shitbag on the internet, right? But it's very, very narrow in the spectrum when it comes to being sexist on the internet. I mean, one of them is attacking damn near everybody and everything, even if it's like a bad faith argument, and the other one is, I don't like that person because that person has, is of a different gender, or sexuality, whatever pronoun we want to end up using for the term.
Yeah, and unfortunately, granted, Blizzard is making a lot of strides in the area that step away from this, but unfortunately, a lot of this combating toxicity relies on the community itself in order to report this toxicity or this racism, sexism, whatever it happens to be. And a lot of communities that are not necessarily just part of Blizzard, but part of the space as a whole, just they don't want to see that change. And so they don't make those reports. And so it lingers and it continues. But I always try and push people and convince people to use that report button as much as possible, because I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here. I don't know if I'm supposed to, because I never really hear people mention it, but I'm going to anyway. I worked on the team that produced a game that I will not say the name of. And one of the features that has become kind of standard in the industry for those report functions is, as soon as you hit that send button on the report, the system takes a 30-second clip from what led up to you hitting that report button and sends it in with the report. And it records microphone audio, it records game audio, it records everything.
Nice.
And it sends it to the team. This is why I try and convince people to use that report button, because no matter what it is, even if it's something that was said over voice chat, that report is still going to capture it and still send it to the team, and action can still be taken. But by not making those efforts to remove that toxicity from your own community, you're hurting it just as much as the toxic people are.
I agree. I think it was Moblord even said something. I think both of you echoed this a couple months ago when it was a big thing when it was a big hot button issue on Twitch. It's like, hey, use the report feature. Please use the fucking report feature. Look, it's not perfect. It's not everything that you want, but it's what you've got. And if you choose not to use it, you're actually doing more damage than it's like, use the damn report feature. Simple as that. And going back to like the differences between, trying to shift away a little bit from BlizzCon and move over to TwitchCons, I think that's a whole different conversation, but it's still the same but different. At TwitchCon, Twitch in general, I mean, we do it in our channels. I do it in my channel as a broadcaster. I do not know a single broadcaster worth a crap that doesn't publicly shame and call out and then educate and explain and then ban the dude that's being really, really shitty in chat. So these people, either they one of two things happen. They say goodbye and they're off the platform. They don't buy a ticket at TwitchCon. They don't go, and they're gone. And they tribalize and go somewhere else, and it's a totally different problem we're not going to get into. Or they get tired of being a dick. They just get kind of tired of it. So they start kind of like not being a dick. And then the world opens up, and it's another conversion, another wololo to the freaking cause of not being a douchebag online.
And I think you mentioned something really important there that kind of connects all of this together in what we can do moving forward, and that's education. You mentioned that you kind of, in trolling these guys back, you try to kind of educate them as to why they're an asshole type of thing, but a little gentler than that.
Oh no, I'll tell you straight up. Well, go on.
Okay, you may not be gentle about it, but usually to really kind of help inform people, you try and be gentle at the start, and that's something that I think a lot of these companies, not just Blizzard, not just Twitch, but every company in this shared space can vastly improve on, is that education on what exactly being inclusive is, and what it looks like, and what it means, and the impact that it has, not just on individuals or not just on games, whatever happens to be, but on the gaming community as a whole. It's something we all need to be better about.
I agree. And the one thing I was gonna point out, is talk about being gentle. Literally, somebody would come into my chat when I was playing Fallout 4, and they would say, "This game sucks." Like, and the chat that was there, the people in the community that were there previously, start shouting the guy down. I would literally tell, hey, chat, stop. Hey. That's his opinion. Buddy, could you tell me why you think the game sucks? If you can give me 3 reasons that are not just, pure freaking subjective opinion. You just tell me, tell me why you feel that way. And then I'll give you my opinion. And hey, man, if you can maybe see things from my perspective, you can chill. And if not, I'm not putting a gun to your head and I'm not paying you to be here. The door's right there. So either you're going to hang out and watch the content. We'll have a conversation about it. And maybe we can be constructive about what can make the game more better for you, a better experience for you or not. It's like, I know that most people can't afford to give that kind of attention or energy to most trolls, but maybe when chat's a little bit slower, maybe once in a while going about it that way, it makes a difference.
That's a type of education that I think is unique to broadcasting platforms, and they are built in a way where that type of communication can happen.
Right.
But what about a game like Heroes of the Storm? When you see somebody being sexist or exclusionary in whatever form that takes, how do you approach turning that around for that person, both as a female and as a male? How does that approach differ?
Well, you go first. I'm going to see what the kids are at the door.
I feel like so there's diversity and inclusion, right? And a lot of people get these things mixed up. Mm-hmm. Diversity is across all genders and preferences and all colors and races and all these things, right? So this is diversity. And then you have inclusion, and inclusion is less about who you include, it's more about who you leave out, to be totally honest. Mm-hmm. So, Spoon, when he first began streaming 3 years ago, he would say stuff like, oh my God, I'm running around here like my character's on the rag, because his character was female and bleeding, right? She was like cut or something from whatever game he was playing. And I was like, whoa. That's super exclusionary. You just, do you realize there are females who watch your stream, and what you just said is it's sexist. It's super, rude. But then there's other things that you might say, such as there was one guy who was actually, I think he was black. I feel like, should I say he's black? But whatever. We know he's black, and he was making like watermelon jokes in the chat. And I thought, are you so conditioned to do this for acceptance? And we really had to turn it around and say, hey, just because you're black, it doesn't give you a license to be racist. Mm-hmm. And saying that on stream, there's the fear that you could alienate a customer, alienate a viewer. Yeah. But honestly, that viewer feels like, oh, that's really nice. I don't have to put up a charade anymore. I don't have to say these things to be included. This is a stream that's meant for everyone.
Right. Is this one of those you don't have to make fun of yourself just so that you steal the opportunity for others to make fun of you?
Yes,
kind of
and that kind of kicks it back to you, Spoon, with your idea on the platform for how to be more inclusive and promote diversity just within your channel or the games you play.
To be totally honest, a very, very small, I don't know if this was mentioned, a very small step that I've started to do now. I don't really fucking small, man. It's super subtle. Like, I don't refer, when I'm saying thank you, I don't say, hey, thank you guys for everything. I say, thank you everybody. Or I say, hello folks, did you have a good day? Or I kind of just try to, which is difficult. It does take effort because it's part of the vernacular. It's part of how we speak in general. Like, I say the word bro a lot because I'm from Miami, Florida, and I grew up saying bro like all the damn time. It drives people nuts. There are some people I met that, like, the moment they speak, I go, oh yeah, you're from Miami. I'm like, oh yeah, how'd you know? Because you say bro every 20 seconds.
It's noticeable.
Yeah, I'll say it to my kids. I have 3 daughters. I live in a house with 4 women and a female dog. I am like the only male,
And he still says bro.
And I call them bro. And I call them dude. Like, I'll go to the wife and like, dude, what are you doing? And it's, oh, right. No, hold on. You're the mother of my children. You're not a dude. I can't say dudette, so.
I use dude a lot, but to me, it's a very gender neutral term.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing.
I also understand that it's not necessarily that way to everybody.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's one small thing I did. The other one, which I don't know how effective it is, but ultimately I have to. So this is a cause that just inclusivity in general. inclusivity in general, I believe, is a cause that is noble and absolutely necessary, but it is something that can consume you because, like, it will consume every thought that you have. So at times, to kind of not so much cheat, but to kind of like give myself a bit of an out, I do the, like, be the change you want to see. I treat everybody the same, whether you are black, Asian, Hispanic, gay, straight, non-binary, whatever it is, whatever it is that you've got that you identify as, it's all like, it's all borscht. It's all like, a gray paste to me. It's all the same. That I don't believe causes, it doesn't do much, but it doesn't hurt, right? Because doing what would do to include would be to specifically call out, minority groups, to be specifically call out those groups that are being marginalized, to say, hey, like the Twitch unity thing that Twitch was pushing a while ago, where it was like very much into broadcasters of color, people of color, transgendered, things of that nature. That's something that is actively trying to be inclusive, whereas I'm just trying to I'm not trying to be exclusive.
No, it's exactly what I said. Well, you were outside of the room, but I said inclusivity is more not about who you include, but who you're leaving out. So,
Right.
I think you're doing it right, and I think the changes that I've seen you make in the last few years have been super positive. And I love Twitch as a platform because you don't know when that user comes in, whether they're a guy or a girl, who they are, what their political preferences are, what their religious preferences are, their sexual preference, none of that. You honestly don't know. And so it is like this blank slate. And he recognized early on that he had to be careful about that. Because there was one that was a female, and I think her name was like at Bombay something or other.
Yeah.
And for the longest time didn't realize it was a girl. And when he finds out, he's like, oh shoot. And he really respected her.
Like, I've called you dude for the past year and a half. God, I've called you bro and man and dude. And he's like, oh, I felt like such an idiot. It was so embarrassing.
I'm a big proponent of basically what you just Jesus, I can't talk. What you just described, kind of treating everybody the same. Everything's a gray blob as far as I'm concerned. And little bit of story time. Way back when I finally pulled the plug on StarCraft, I was like, okay, this isn't working anymore. My team has fallen apart. I can't find another group that I jive with. I'm done with this. I'm moving on to something else. I moved into competitive Halo, and
oh no,
at that time, everybody knows about the example of the kid on Xbox Live who screams about fucking your mom. Everybody knows that, and that kind of found its roots in the Halo scene, unfortunately. But I treated everybody the exact same way. Everybody was just an ambiguous person to me, and that actually led to joining a group of competitive players, and I actually ended up in a relationship with one of them. And she specifically said to me, the reason why you stood out from everybody else was that you treated me the same as you treat everyone else.
Exactly.
And now I'm not saying, treat everyone like a gray blob and you're going to get a girlfriend, but I think it goes a long way to kind of emphasizing how much of an impact that one person just treating another person like a human being is a really standout thing to some people, specifically to a lot of women.
Yeah, it's a respect thing.
I can't say if that's
I know
sad
that
or
you
not.
guys kind of downplay it by saying treating everyone the same or treating it like a gray blob.
Yeah.
What it really is it's giving everyone mutual respect.
Yes, exactly.
Regardless, right? And I think once someone knows that I'm a female, or maybe once to take a different position, once someone knows that you're black or you're Latino or whatever you are, or that you're from Canada, because I know you get picked on just for being Canadian.
The apology jokes, I'm
I've never said one to you, so we're fine. But just giving them the mutual respect, even after you know a little bit more about them, it's so refreshing. It's so refreshing. I wish more people would do it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to just slightly touch on, to kind of shift the conversation a bit. I'm going back to something that Panda experienced, that we both experienced while we were at TwitchCon. And it's kind of keys on, you never know. You never know who you're talking to, right? For all intents and purposes, you never know who's coming into your chat. You never know who you're going to run into. We got into the elevator at the Hyatt where we were staying at TwitchCon this year. And, you know, John Samak comes into the elevator, and we're sharing of it. Him and his entourage, right? His entourage, whatever. It's like two buddies.
He does kind of have an entourage when he's at conventions.
As soon as you hit a certain tier of, like, you know, online celebrity, you have an entourage. I immediately knew who the dude was because he's got his face is unique as hell, right? In a good way. Well, not like he's gonna listen. Why the hell am I? Anyway,
I think he's pretty.
I do think he's pretty. I want his beard.
He's kind of pretty. Yeah.
I really fucking want. I got beard envy. I got beard envy for freaking days, man.
I'm sorry to tell you though, he is married and he does have a kid.
And he has a kid. I know it. I know. Which is funny because literally that was a comment that I made to Panda when we was done. I was like, that was John Salmon. I should have told him, you know, congrats on the kid. But I didn't know if that would have been weird because, like, I follow him on Twitter and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I know that feel. I have kids. I did the baby thing for a while before they grew out of it, thank God. So, like, I know the suck that you are embracing right now. But anyway, something that he did, he really did treat both my wife and I as if we were just as worthy of his attention as any big corporate sponsor or other massive broadcaster. Doesn't matter of viewership didn't count. How many followers you have, how many subscribers you have, none of that mattered in that elevator. And that is something that I think is really freaking interesting, because that would be an example of what we came to this conclusion. Somebody on Twitch doing it right, quote unquote. I forgot who even, no, I remember now. Okay. Kanye West, of all people.
Oh, here we go.
No.
Oh boy.
He made a statement that I cannot. It's
Which
like
one?
Yeah, he went Kanye. You got to narrow it down for us.
Listen. Let me narrow it down. He made a statement that the statement alone isn't truly amazing. It is amazing, but the fact that he said it blew my fucking mind, and I was dumbfounded for like hours. He basically said he wishes that Twitter would hide your follower count, that nobody could ever see your follower count, because it would be the equivalent of like having your dick size on your shirt all the time, where people are constantly judging your value to them or in general based on your viewership, your followership, the size of your shoes, your bank account, how much money you, whatever the case may be. I think what he said specifically was like, you know, we should hide all this information, otherwise it's equivalent to having like your bank account balance on your shirt at any given time, you know? And it's interesting because at TwitchCon specifically, I have run into situations, and we both have run into situations where when I'm trying to get to know other broadcasters and the being snubbed by another broadcaster, it sucks. It really sucks because
and being a community member, I'm just on the same day.
She doesn't exist.
So of course, TwitchCon feels the need to make sure that we are separated. We're differentiated, right? I've got the community badge that's yellow. He's got the affiliate one that is blue. Yeah. So, you know, you can already tell that we, you know, who we are. And so we walk into this group, and what got me was he was snubbed as an affiliate because, you know, you're in that weird in between spot where you're not quite partner yet, but not quite unknown. And then I get snubbed because I should obviously know who this streamer is. Why am I not coming up to talk to them?
Yeah.
You should know who I am. It was the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen. I thought, this is not PartnerCon, okay? This is TwitchCon, celebrating the community of Twitch. And all you partners, not all you, that is super, super
This is
expansive
not going to
statement.
sound like any way that we try to spin this or word this is always going to sound like really disingenuous.
So I won't, right? A lot of folks feel that TwitchCon is a networking event.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it that way. When really it's supposed to be a celebration of community.
Yep.
And so I think from a business perspective, there are so many really, really talented people on Twitch that are getting it wrong when they go to this convention. As the convention grows, you will have many more community members joining. You really should keep in mind that there are hundreds of thousands of broadcasters on Twitch. They're not all going to know who you are, but that doesn't make them any less deserving of your time and your attention. And if you give them a minute, they'll follow John Sandman like I did on Twitter. They'll go to his stream and add him like I did on Twitch, because I want to know who he is. He gave me the time of day, and he didn't have to.
Yeah, and I think more than just, from a business perspective, they're getting it wrong. I think from on an individual level, a lot of people are getting it wrong, because okay, partners and affiliates are the moneymakers for Twitch, but anytime I saw somebody at TwitchCon with that community badge, I was so elated. I was so happy, because this is somebody that, they don't make their living off of the platform. They're just there because they love the content that's on it. They love the communities that are in it. They aren't contracted by Twitch in any way, shape, or form. They're just there because they want to be there.
Right.
And that means a hell of a lot. And, back to John Sandman, I know him on a semi-personal level. He was part of the original crew that helped form the party, the stream team that
I remember
Hunter and I were a part of. So I've had the opportunity to talk to him a few times on a personal level and also on a business level, and he is like the guy to point to. If there was ever a single person on Twitch, I'm sorry, Hunter, if there was ever a single person on Twitch that I could point to and just say, be like that person, it would be John Sandman, because he is he's on the level with everybody. Doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, he is on the exact same level as you in that moment and every other moment that you happen to meet him. And that's just how we should be treating each other.
And well, go on.
No, you go ahead.
Well, it strikes me. So every streaming 101, every business 101, or how to make friends and whatever, books, whatever kind of, literature or knowledge base you're going to tap into, it's this big promotion of this holy cow of this holy grail sacred cow of like networking. And to network is just to make friends, right? That's what it's the trick to networking. Broman says it all the time. Like, the trick to networking and good networking is to make friends. And then you go to a convention, which one of the only ways that you can get into the same physical space where there isn't a distraction of having to stream and be on, right? Well, kind of be on. And almost nobody wants to make friends. It's like you're kind of, it's weird. There's this desperation, this push to like, all right, we got to network, let's make deals, let's talk to each other, let's solidify, we're gonna co-stream this, we're gonna co-stream that. And I'm wondering how much return comes from that,
I think I don't know how long we've been on now, but that's actually would be a great topic for its own entire broadcast to talk about, because it is such a hilarious dynamic. Twitch has largely been built off the backs of people who have anxiety disorder, and now you get them all in the same space and they're super chickening each other to death. If you've never seen the TED Talk called Super Chickens, go watch it. It's fantastic. It's really about a lot of smart, talented people who kill each other instead of help each other. And you see it a lot. I'm seeing it a lot right now. Maybe this is just a phase of growth for Twitch and where they're at as a convention. That could be the case. I haven't seen this through to the end, and who knows how long that could be. But I think when you have these panels about how to do Twitch right, there's there's so many different ways to do this, and everybody gets so confused because they're getting mixed messaging. But I'm telling you right now, you heard Fox say it. If you want to succeed on this platform, be like John Sandman. It doesn't mean you go copy his product and everything that he does on his channel. It means that you copy his business sense, his sensibilities. You have to be a confident person to be John, right? He's on the level with everybody because he's confident in himself. And I know that there's a lot of folks on Twitch who lack confidence in themselves. And so it breeds a different environment. But it would be super, super interesting to talk more about that and how people actually inadvertently strike their own success down.
Yep.
Simply, by putting their foot in their mouth, I guess you could say, and making too much out of something that's actually quite simple.
Yep. And so you did kind of ask about time there, and we are approaching time. So
Closing
I'm going
thoughts?
to defer to defer to you first, Spoon, on everything that we've talked about. What's your final word on the matter today?
Final word. Final words. First and foremost, sorry that the kids have been constantly throughout this entire podcast popping in, taking me off screen or making me feel taking me away. So I've been a little bit fragmented in my conversation today.
Most people listen to the audio anyway. They won't notice.
Hey, so people listen to the audio.
Until we've just literally pointed it out for them.
Right. So, hey, people listen to the audio. I just shoved 2 chocolate chip cookies at my 7-year-old and told her to get out of the room, so help me God, so that we can do this last little bit.
Usually I keep them wrangled. This is kind of my fault.
Those were my fucking cookies. Thank you very much. I got to go upstairs now and try to save some. But anyway, the closing thoughts. It was an interesting experience this year in particular because I felt a certain sense of desperation, and I'm going to talk to my therapist about it tomorrow. Before TwitchCon, I didn't feel anxiety about the flight or about the fact that we were doing literally TwitchCon, fly to California, come home, have Halloween, fly to California for BlizzCon, come home. It was just like, it was manic. I mean, we have a village, we got 3 kids. And we were flying Panda's mom at the same time for BlizzCon. I digress. That didn't stress me out. What stressed me out was this sense of I'm going to TwitchCon as a broadcaster, and if I don't find a way to grow my community or to glean some kind of wisdom from those around me, my peers or my superiors, whatever the hell you want to label it as, then I'm not going to quote unquote make it, and I'm going to continue to have this very slow growth or stagnation. And it's a sense of desperation that is very frustrating. So I went to TwitchCon this year with a different mindset. I went to TwitchCon this year because I wanted to make friends. Not because I wanted to make friends for the purpose of business networking. I wanted to actually get to know people, so I had people to freaking talk to in general, right? Just have a higher quality of life, because if you have an interesting life, then you'll be an interesting person to watch, and period. And it was very difficult. It was surprisingly difficult to kind of like break into these cliques and to break into these, I mean, yeah, you're an interesting person, I'm an interesting person. And then the moment that all your other friends show up, it's like that's it, right? It becomes very cold, which is, I digress. It's a whole nother conversation to have, but as far as the diversity thing, I think we beat the dead horse enough. We all know that inclusivity and diversity are 2 different things. I think the gaming culture as a whole has a long way to go when it comes to inclusivity and kind of stomping out that rampant sexism, racism, things of that nature. I would venture to say it's not so much sexism and racism when it comes to Twitch amongst its more ardent, like I talked about before, the more hardcore base. It's more almost like classism, if you will, when it comes to that. And I don't think that it's by design. I just think it's an ugly side effect of conventional business knowledge not working in this space, so to speak. But anyway, that's all I gotta say about that.
If Zoom would unmute, I could actually speak. Panda, final thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts. I think diversity and inclusion is incredibly important, and we should all support it as often as we possibly can. When you encourage diversity and you include individuals in the conversation, you bring them to the table, we create robust, amazing products for everyone. And so you may think, what does it mean if you bring these people? What are we going to get out of this? And from a business perspective, you get tons out of it. You're making things that everyone can enjoy, and you may find that you enjoy it yourself. You weren't expecting it, and it was awesome. So that's super important. And then on the topic of just the convention center and gaming and sort of women in gaming and marginalized audiences, if you're listening, it's super important not to give up. It's a difficult fight. I've been fighting it for a long time. There's people that have been fighting it longer than me. And we just have to lock arms and keep pushing forward, because there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't really see it yet, but I feel like we've made positive change in the last 60 years, and we're going to keep making awesome changes, and esports are where it's at in the future. And I think we can see everybody up there, everyone represented, if we just keep our nose to the ground and keep promoting each other. And that's kind of all I have to say. Thanks for listening.
All right. I'll try and keep it pretty short and sweet here. Just simply treat everyone better. If you limit your community, then you're limiting just how far that community can go. So if you're closing doors on those people that can lift you up, can lift your business up, product up, whatever it happens to be, you're setting yourself up for failure. Not just your own failure, but the failure of the people that you're closing those doors on as well. And that's not how we grow as an industry, as gamers, just as a globe. It's not going to do any good for anybody, and we can all improve in that regard. Even if we're already making great strides, as many of us are, we can all improve. So that's that's going to do it for episode 8 of, I think it's episode 8 of the Press Pause podcast. It better be episode 8, because I have only uploaded 7 episodes so far.
I don't think I've given you any more than 7 episodes. So let's say, this is now episode 8. And the other one was episode 7 plus 1.
Yes, sure. So thank you for joining us, whether it was on an audio platform, of which we are available on many, or on Twitch and YouTube now as well. We are available on YouTube. I am HB Fox. You can find me on Twitter at HBFoxTV. My lovely, lovely co-host, as always, is Spooner Sloth. Where can we find you, Spoon?
You can find me on Twitter at SpoonerSloth. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/SpoonerSloth. Instagram is instagram.com/SpoonerSloth. I'm SpoonerSloth freaking everywhere. And if you go someplace and you see a SpoonerSloth and you don't see my ugly mug or hear my horrible lisp, then it's not me. But 99% of the time, it's going to be me. I'll be there.
And we had a lovely guest this week, which I absolutely want to bring you on again many times in the future. Panda, where can we find you?
Thanks, Fox. No, it's awesome being here. I'm the backbone for Spoon. I just support his business and what he's trying to do and achieve. You can find me supporting him all over the place on Twitter at Mickey Panda, which is MC1 Panda. And then you can follow me on Instagram as well at Mickey Panda 81. You'll have to request to follow. I don't like to share my family with everyone, but if you're awesome, I'll acknowledge it. And thanks, Fox. I'd love to come back.
Oh, yeah, no, they were talking, for those of you listening, these two were talking at BlizzCon, at TwitchCon, like, yeah, so we're just going to replace Spoon with Panda, and we can keep the Press Pause thing, we just got to, because we got the animal theme going on, so it's all good. No, I've been straight up replaced. I know, right, we're halfway there. This is how it begins.
And we have to hurry because I'm going extinct.
Right, the insurgency begins, right? So next episode, it'll be like the three of us again, and then afterwards it'll be like, oh, Spoon got sick. It's just Panda and Fox.
That's what happens when you go down a tree to poop. Okay?
Yeah.
The leopards get you. I'm sorry.
It's true. So
Anyway, that about does it, right?
if you guys want to join the conversation or suggest topics for us to discuss in the future, you can always use the hashtag PressPausePodcast on Twitter to reach out to us. We check that hashtag very regularly and respond to everybody that uses it so far. It's probably not scalable, but we'll try. Yeah, and that about does it for us. Thank you for listening / watching.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.